In 2019, a commercial airline pilot flying 35,000 feet off the coast of Chile captured something unusual on video. Tracking roughly alongside the Airbus A320 was a bright white orb, pulsing and bouncing erratically in the pitch-black sky. The immediate assumption for anomalies at this altitude is usually atmospheric clutter. Around this time, fleets of high-altitude research balloons, designed to provide internet access, were known to drift through these global flight paths. But military aviation experts point out a few physical problems with the balloon theory. A drifting weather balloon should appear completely stationary relative to a jet flying at cruising speed, creating a noticeable visual closure. This object didn't close distance. It maintained pace, glowed with intense brightness, and displayed a bizarre side-to-side oscillation that defies standard balloon behavior. While an unexplained light tracking a commercial flight is certainly a curiosity for the crew, an isolated incident in civilian airspace doesn't automatically trigger alarms for global security. Inside the Pentagon, however, investigators looking into unidentified anomalous phenomena took a different approach. The Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, led by former intelligence officer Lou Elizondo, was not built to chase civilian curiosities. Their objective was to map out a specific, concerning correlation. They needed to know if there was a direct relationship between anomalous radar tracks and the highly restricted airspace surrounding the military's most sensitive installations. To filter out the noise of misidentified aircraft, the team relied on 5 engineering capabilities known as the 5 observables. These include instantaneous acceleration, hypersonic velocity, travel between air and water, positive lift without wings, and a total lack of visible propulsion. When applying these strict criteria, the data revealed a distinct pattern. These highly advanced craft are consistently found encroaching upon America's strategic deterrence footprint. During the Cold War, Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana served as a critical hub in America's northern tier defense, housing hundreds of intercontinental ballistic missiles armed with nuclear warheads. In the fall of 1995, Major Daniel Gibson was on a mid-air refueling mission near the base when his crew witnessed a bright light entering the atmosphere at extreme speeds. The object descended rapidly, came to a dead stop directly inside the aurora borealis, grew intensely bright, and then shot straight back up into the vacuum of space. This diagram maps out the recorded flight path, and the trajectory violates standard aerospace physics. A craft capable of surviving the heat of atmospheric re-entry, decelerating to a dead stop, and then reversing direction against gravity without any visible thrust does not exist in our inventory. The G-forces required for that maneuver would instantly kill a human pilot. This single flight profile perfectly captures 3 of the 5 observables: hypersonic velocity on the way down, instantaneous acceleration on the way out, and the transmedium travel required to seamlessly cross from the vacuum of space into the atmosphere and back. And Gibson's experience was not the first of its kind at Malmstrom. Nearly 30 years earlier, in 1967, Air Force personnel reported a glowing red object hovering over the base, executing the exact same rapid 90-degree turns and abrupt stops. The 1967 encounter exposed a direct vulnerability in the nation's defense apparatus. Moments after the object appeared over the installation, 10 of Malmstrom's active nuclear warheads inexplicably shut down and went offline. This pattern of surveillance extends far beyond static domestic silos. In the early 1990s, the Persian Gulf became one of the most heavily restricted and closely monitored combat theaters on Earth. Operating in the region during this time, military intelligence specialists recorded multiple sightings of enormous, silent, black equilateral triangles. Drifting slowly at low altitudes over the desert and directly above naval warships, these craft featured large glowing lights at each corner. Because this was an active war zone, it is reasonable to suspect these were top-secret American assets. The military was actively utilizing its first stealth attack aircraft, the F-117 Nighthawk, which features a distinct angular design. But the intelligence officers deployed in the theater ruled out the F-117 and the newly unveiled B-2 bomber. The craft they observed had no sawtooth edges, left no contrails, generated absolutely no engine noise, and managed to completely evade the fleet's sensitive theater-level surveillance radar. A few years later, during the NATO bombing of Kosovo in 1999, the theater shifted to the Adriatic Sea. Senior Airman Derek Tarr was stationed in the back of a KC-10, operating the boom to refuel Allied fighter jets mid-flight. While waiting for the next receiver, Tarr noticed a bright white orb holding position just below his aircraft. After confirming with command that the airspace was supposedly clear, the orb began oscillating wildly, bouncing with sharp, rapid movements, before instantly accelerating straight up into the sky. The timing of this encounter aligns perfectly with a highly sensitive military operation. At that exact moment, the United States was deploying its cutting-edge B-2 stealth bomber into combat for the very first time. The historical data points consistently towards the same conclusion. These anomalies do not manifest randomly. They appear exactly where humanity deploys its most complex and destructive technologies. This map plots decades of gathered intelligence. It shows craft exhibiting the 5 observables deliberately clustering around nuclear silos in the northern US, active carrier groups in the Persian Gulf, and aerial combat zones in Eastern Europe. This clustering forces military planners to confront the red team hypothesis. What if these objects are entirely terrestrial? What if they represent classified platforms operated by foreign adversaries, gathering intelligence on our weapon systems? If that hypothesis is true, the engineering reality is staggering. It means a rival nation has secretly leapfrogged American aerospace physics by several decades, operating craft that manipulate gravity and bypass conventional propulsion without our knowledge. This removes the phenomenon entirely from the realm of science fiction. If unknown platforms can routinely infiltrate restricted airspace and force nuclear weapons offline, an uninvestigated vulnerability is a failure of national security.